What the fuck does that YouTuber have to teach us? Logan Paul is a polarizing figure and someone easily confused with his brother Jake Paul. I think part of the confusion is that their last name could be a first name, so just fair warning, I might refer to Logan as Jake, Jake as Logan, or either of them as Paul. You know who I'm talking about. Only one of them fought Floyd Mayweather over the weekend on Sunday. That was one Logan Paul. He wore a Pokemon card around his neck. I listened to someone doing audio play-by-play. I've never, ever purchased a live card except one. And he's related to this. Back when I was rehabbing from a debilitating back injury, I bought one and only one UFC card with Shane Carwin versus Brock Lesnar. Shane Carwin, the engineer, is gonna lead into my spiel about my tribal identity groups. If you're an engineer, I'll never hate you. By engineer, I'm very broad with the category. If you've studied some of it, if you've mentioned ever thinking about studying it, that's enough to qualify you. That's probably why I have an affinity for our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He'd once, I think, mentioned studying engineering and even studied some. Even though I formally graduated, I'm okay, I widened the range. So why is this related to Logan Paul? Logan Paul either mentioned that he studied it or even studied it. So he has my engineer's pass. But more importantly, he actually helped me reframe something in my life. It's very important. I'm a mixed martial artist by the loosest definition, as in I've dabbled in multiple martial arts. The one that I achieved the most in was a stand-up form of karate. Logan Paul actually helped me reframe what I consider to be the worst fight I've ever been in. In order to progress among the rankings and earn your successive belts, part of that is sparring. So from what I remember, the sparring is as bare knuckles as you can get. You have some hand wraps, maybe some loose headgear, but other than that, you score points by kicking or punching to the head, body, and legs. So when I was testing for my green belt, right before the sparring portion of the test, my sensei threw a bomb right in my face. For my sparring, because they apparently lacked people, I'd have to spar against a male brown belt. He was the stronger sex and also a couple belt ranks above me. I shit my pants and pleaded with him, begged with him for any other way. But for whatever reason, he dangled the whole year of work above my head. In this type of karate, they only belt every year. So if for whatever reason you fail this year, you'll have to wait a whole nother year to test again. Maybe some other karates or martial arts with more participation have regular intakes of testing, but to me, the prospect of losing a whole year was fucking stupid to me. So I thought to myself, fine, I'll fucking spar fight this male brown belt. But I really never had the time to think about what would be a win for me. In many ways, I've always recalled this scenario with anger rather than pride. So the anger was, as soon as the sparring match began, I did a version of the chicken dance that I'm going to actually be performing this week. I just ran. I ran around the fighting area away from the male brown belt because I was just in survival mode. My body was dumping adrenaline and I no clue what I was doing, but all I knew was that I was trying to protect my head. So when my sensei screamed, "Defend yourself," as I was running by him, I thought to myself, this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm defending. But somehow that brown belt caught up to me, somewhat cornered me in position, so I had to start doing something. While defending my head, I threw some kicks from the outside. That's the only thing I could think of doing. To me, the prospect of letting my hands go was something that would open me up to more than I was willing to accept. I think at the time, I should have thought of just coming out there alive would have been good enough. Lo and behold, I threw some outside leg kicks, ran, leg kick, ran, leg kick, ran. I might have fake jabbed into the air in front of me briefly. Despite what was more accurately a running marathon than a real spar, I had a success in that I did earn my green belt, but I was just exhausted after that situation and experience. I was exhausted and sweat pouring down, ringing in my ears, smelling salts nearly in my face. I thought to myself, what would success have been? To be honest, I never even answered that question until hearing the audio of Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather, because I think I now know what success is. Success is, despite me fighting a male brown belt, which is obviously a male stronger than me, and a couple of belt ranks above me, that's it. He never knocked me out or knocked me down. That's it. That's the win. And I realized that in hearing the Paul Mayweather audio, because what were people really expecting? Although in some ways the situation is a bit of an inverse, because Floyd is the professional boxer, arguably best boxer of all time, and Logan outweighed him by a good 35 to 50 pounds, depending on some guesses. Paul, as in Logan Paul, also had a reach advantage, but Logan was an absolute noob compared to Floyd, because let's be honest, Logan's record is 0-1. So I think for Logan Paul to just survive without being knocked out or knocked down was enough. Thinking of my own situation, to be honest, what did I really expect? I think I did what I could have done best in the situation. I ran until my sensei warned me that you have to show some skill in order to earn your belt. So then I threw some outside leg kicks, maybe fake jabbed into the air. I did enough to prove that I had some technical skills. But sometimes I wonder to myself, and now I am of the opinion that I actually did do the best that I could, and the best that I think you could possibly expect. Because what would have happened to that brown belt? Would they have stripped him of his belt if I actually won that sparring match? To be completely honest, maybe he felt nervous about the fact that I escaped. I wonder what people think about that when they have such a huge differential. And in Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather, the situation was the differentials were in the opposite direction. You have the best athlete in that sport, the best boxer ever, but losing the weight, height, reach advantage to Logan Paul by quite a large margin. So then the question becomes, they had each pros and cons. Oh, age too is a factor. Floyd's 44, Logan's in his 20s. So it's hard to know what we're supposed to read from that. But in any case, I still think most people thought that regardless of what positives or advantages you might think Logan brings, the expertise of Floyd should have outweighed all of that. For me, I think the answer's much clearer. That male brown belt should have fucked me up and never did, so that's a win for me. I'm gonna reframe that whole scenario. Instead of recalling anger, I'm gonna try to replace it with pride, because I should actually be proud of myself. Maybe my sensei was testing me. Maybe I would have already earned my belt without that spar, but maybe he wanted to test me. I should probably ask him. Looking back, I think when I was younger, they did a lot of things that nowadays would be probably questioned or frowned upon, but at least I have a story, an entertaining story to tell years later that relates to Mayweather Paul. Now I dance my chicken dance. Okay, to be fair, it's celebrating birds of all kinds. Chickens being just as celebratory as all the others. For fuck's sake, we eat them, so the very least we can do is do a dance to honor them, right? Okay, that's a fun little piece that I think Michael Jackson popularized. A number of people have covered this song. I'm doing it to honor one of my favorite YouTubers, Parrot, named Einstein the Parrot. Ever since last week, I've added another bird to my repertoire, Tico, the singing Amazon. For whatever reason, in returning from Africa, 2018, I've developed a love for African gray birds. Yes, you would think it'd be one of the animals I trekked in the wild, often on foot, including lions, leopards, elephants, rhinos, buffalo, gorillas, chimps. But for some reason, maybe because I'd realized a dream with all those animals, I deferred to a couple of others that I just got interested in turning. The African gray birds are particularly intriguing because a professor named Dr. Irene Pepperberg actually trained one of the African grays named Alex to basically a 5-6-year-old's intelligence. Einstein, the talking parrot that I follow on YouTube, is just a humorous comedian. The way he combines things in his mind, he actually portmanteaus words. For example, I think something bird owners like to do is scratch the bird's feathers. He made up a word, screathers, which is a portmanteau of scratch and feathers. That's amazing. Some of the other birds in the neighborhood are tweeting their approval. I was hoping they'd come out and grace my performance with their presence. But in any case, that shows how much we like to be ethnocentric. We think we're species-centric. We think we're the only species that has intelligence. But I think the more animal scientists conduct experiments, the more we understand that animals have their forms of intelligence. And often what's happened is that animal scientists have learned to modify their testing for an animal-centric view. So we think that only if they can prove intelligence in our way that they're intelligent. But what's really important to know is that different animals have different sense mechanisms. Snakes, turtles, bats. For example, bats use sonar, right? And they use it far more advanced than any human could. So is that a form of intelligence? For example, when they use sonar, they're doing advanced calculations in their head, triangulations and all of that. But could they explain to you verbally or write a peer-reviewed scientific paper about it? So that's what I mean by people are evolving their understanding of animals, and that to me is something happy, because that's how we all do learn and grow. So just like I'm evolving my memory of my green belt situation, that's what we should do for things that we learn, memories, etc. Okay, I've got to dance quite a bit now because I talked my way into a time deficit. Yes. We're noticing my tut wing arms. Of course, I'm a fan of tutting, and tutting's always going to feature heavily in my dances. was gonna add some choreography, but I had to cut it off because something interceded in my schedule today. Might have been something like this. Something like that. Maybe. Let's do this again. Also dressed like a hippie bird. Does it show up? Yeah, I have some feathers, some leaves on this sarong. And I'm also like a hippie rock star, so that combines the two things together. Birds and rock. So, what else do I want to finish? One more set? Or talk a little bit? I'll talk a little bit. And then finish the last set. Okay. Yeah, I completely threw myself off schedule because of what I was trying to do. That's okay, I think I'm back on track again. Back in the saddle again. And we are going to explain. What do I have? I'm going to keep it all on this, or am I going to mention it? Okay, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it because I have to do some thinking before I decide what to do. I'm going to dance one last time now so that I can talk the whole way through. The weather's been good for outdoor activity, but as you all know, I've been out for the whole year. How long have we been here now? A whole year. Okay. Are we gonna go one more time? Yeah, okay. Okay, so we're gonna do one more time, I think. I think we're gonna go... Okay, we're gonna go one more time. Because my train of thought flew away. Oh, okay. So, We're done the 3 passes. We still have a little bit of time to talk. Do I want to save it? Or do I want to go out there? I think some estimates were that Floyd made $100 million on that fucking exhibition fight. Should he be disappointed in himself? Well, to be fair, he's never been a knockout power puncher in that sense, but sometimes you wonder, if you're the best in your sport, should you even have any room for disappointment if you're fighting a literal noob? Well, of course, Logan's actually in shape. He's a multi-discipline athlete. He wrestled in high school, so he's a combat sports athlete in many regards, but that's like asking me as a stand-up martial artist to suddenly convert to boxing. Okay, you probably have a bit more combat sports IQ than an average person without any prior training. But is that enough to go against the best? Is that, for example, I'm much younger than Federer. Did I even claim that? I'm younger than John McEnroe. There, okay? But should he still be able to beat me? Yes. Maybe I'll pick a lady. I'm younger than Martina Navratilova. Should she be able to beat me? Yes. If I were to score even a single point on her, I think that's a knock on her, to be honest. Because when you're the pro, the best ever in the world, against literally a nobody, even a fit nobody, I think that does call into question your expertise in a certain way. But does it call it into question in a way that it matters? Who knows? It's hard to know, right? But in any case, people have done what they've done, and we have learned what we need to learn from the situation. I'm happy that I could reframe my memories, because I think I'm a much better martial artist than I give myself credit for. And sometimes part of martial arts is confidence, right? Confidence. Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of glare here. I'm just trying to make sure I know what's going on with the timing here.